Thank you so much for inviting me. It will be a pleasure for me to share some of my thoughts and experience with you. My name is Małgorzata Gałkowska-Błądek and I'm a Feng Shui consultant based in Poland. I started my Feng Shui adventure in the 90s. My first diploma is dated on 1999 year. Since 2005 I joined Master Joseph's Yu Feng Shui Research Center and I established Polish affiliate of that school. I also organized seminars in Poland for other teachers like Grandmaster Raymond Law and Heluwo, Royal Hill. I also translated Raymond's Law book into Polish. Privately, I'm a happy wife, mother of 2 sons, and owner of a bull terrier. I love traveling, gardening, and reading. Before I entered my Feng Shui path, I have been interested in energy, esoteric matters, energetic healing, and all aspects of spiritual life. I perceive human beings in a holistic way, so I believe we are not only body but also spirit, and these 2 aspects impact each other. Today I would like to share with you my approach to Feng Shui audits. I like to connect various techniques and methods to give people wider and deeper help. I prepared some slides which will help me to show you some aspects of that subject. Let's begin. In the beginning, all is energy. In a molecular level, a human body is the same vibrating energy as a table or a rock. That is why all our surroundings can impact us and our life, but it can also work in the opposite direction. Of course, I don't mean here any magic wand and creating or moving things. Instead, I mean some strategy and learning how to use all surrounding energies for our benefit. In that way, maybe we will not create or move things in material level, but we can create new possibilities for us and open new doors. In Chinese metaphysics, we have so-called Trinity: heaven, man, and earth. These are 3 aspects which decide about our life. Heaven, it is astrology. It is our destiny and we cannot change it. Earth, Feng Shui, it gives us quite many possibilities. And man, it is wisdom, knowledge, exercise, good deeds, personal development, good diet, and so on. Here also we have many possibilities to improve our life. Now a few words about Chinese astrology and our destiny. According to Chinese astrological system called 4 Pillars of Destiny, or Bazi, 8 characters, every one of us is born having specific character traits, abilities, and even the tendency to develop some disease. The date of birth marks out a limited field of action for us. Here we see an example of such a chart. We have 4 upper signs, which are called heavenly stamps, and below we have 4 signs called earthly branches. Heavenly stamps are just 5 elements in yang or yin polarization, so there is 10 possibilities. Earthly branches are the 12 animals known from Chinese zodiac. The most important place is in a day above. Here is our so-called day master, the element of a person. Other parts of the chart show how this our element reacts with various aspects of life. We can find resource, wealth, friends, children, and power. Sometimes all aspects are present, sometimes not. It tells us much about the life of a person. Okay, so this is a part of our destiny which we cannot change. During our birth, we inhale our destiny and the setting gets imprinted into our meridians. But it needn't be like that. Life just happens to us. We can do much to improve our lives and to live in fullness. Yes, our destiny has some limits and we can only move between lines, so to speak. In other words, we have some limits, but we can still live near the highest limit, yes? Well, you cannot change your sex. Okay, you can, but it is not that simple. You cannot change your skin color, your eyes color, your body building, your shape, and so on. But even with a weak body, you still can live in fullness. If you start your life in poor conditions, you can still reach some prosperity. Then you can also choose the best time to do something. There is a nice saying that when you come to this world, you get a ticket to the restaurant. This is exact restaurant chosen for you and you cannot change it. You must go there, but then you can buy one tea or buy a feast of 12 dishes, see? You must only know how. I said before that we cannot change our destiny and astrology. That's true. It is like in genetics. There are the limitations. Sorry. But we can still use our strengths and talents to create good opportunities. However, we must know what are our strengths. We must also know what are our weak points. You see, sometimes people try to reach their goals, but it is futile. They try and try, always in the same way, and after many trials, they say that the life is unfair. However, if they would examine their charts, they would probably see that all these trials were done in the wrong direction, wrong way, or in the wrong time, maybe. For example, if somebody's strength is artistic mind and intuition is the inner drive, that person will not be happy sitting as an accountant clerk, for example. Some people have a more scientific mind and some are more artistic and spontaneous. Of course, it doesn't mean that somebody cannot be a baker or somebody else cannot be a teacher. The most important thing is how we should work. It strongly depends on our astrology chart. There are 5 elements describing various aspects of our life. Then, one of the elements may be very much needed and helpful for us. Meanwhile, some other element is bad for us. For example, somebody wants to be a cook. Actually, everybody can be a cook if he or she likes it and learns recipes, yes? Then we can advise that person how she or he should do the work to be in harmony with the astrology chart. Then that person will easier reach the goals and will be happier. So, for example, when somebody needs water element in his or her chart and wants to be a cook, that person can work in various places, traveling, as a ship cook or in a food truck. The accent is to travel, change things, as water element is a change, water is flowing. Water element is also fish and sea, so maybe it could be more fish or seafood in his or her dishes. Good idea would be also catering. If somebody needs wood element, it would be good to educate people in food matters and offer vegetarian or vegan food. Wood element is education, development, or plants. Then somebody might need fire element. It could be show cooking, emotions, expression, joy, open fire. The fire radiates in every direction, gathering people. Earth element is like geomagnetic force. It pulls people towards something. So it would be good to be a cook in the restaurant. No traveling, no food trucks. People should come to the restaurant and enjoy the food there. Metal element is very analytic and good for logistics. So if somebody needs that element and wants to be a cook, that person should focus on some types of diets with some goal. So keto diet, vegetarian diet, slimming diet, healing diet, or even molecular gastronomy, which blends food and technology. Metal element is very focused. It has to have a goal and likes clear recipe, not spontaneous creation. Of course, this example is showed in easy way. Sometimes it is not that simple. Additionally, there is also time aspect. We can choose when something will be easier or even possible. Sometimes it would be better to wait for a better time. So you see, actually we cannot change our astrology chart, but we can use the elements in it in a flexible way. Yes, it can help us to live in fullness, avoiding big mistakes. This was about astrology, and I will show you now that astrology knowledge can be very, very helpful in Feng Shui audits. In my over 20 years experience, I have seen very often that somebody's troubles were not caused by bad Feng Shui. Sometimes the person was living in a house with beautiful harmony and almost perfect Feng Shui, but still unhappy, unfulfilled, lonely, or ill. That is why I'll always check the astrology during Feng Shui audit. Problems can be hiding there, not in Feng Shui at all. I will show you an example later. So you see, we can do much with heaven aspect, astrology and destiny. It is worth of adding to Feng Shui audits. Next thing is Feng Shui, Earth part of the Trinity. In Chinese, Feng Shui means wind and water. It is the traditional Chinese art of designing our surroundings and houses in a special manner to enable us to benefit from positive energy and to avoid bad, ill energy. Feng Shui deals not only with apartments or private homes, but also with commercial buildings, hospitals, grave seats, and even whole cities, regions, and countries. In the broadest sense, it is the ability to design space and knowledge of Qi circulation in the physical world. Feng Shui is maybe the most known aspect of Chinese metaphysics. That's good, because it can change people's life very much. But then there are many kinds of Feng Shui, more sophisticated, academic, or just simply intuitive. Yes, one common feature of these many kinds of Feng Shui is seeking of harmony. It's important. There is developing nowadays a special branch of architectural design named space psychology. This is clear that people feel better in some places and worse in the other. Some kinds of Feng Shui focus only on that, on space. So, consultant of that kind of Feng Shui tells us that we shouldn't sleep or sit under ceiling beams or under sloping ceiling. We shouldn't sleep or sit under roof window as well. We should be careful about pointing edges called poisoned arrow. So this all is about how we perceive our surroundings. Yes, it's important because a pointing sharp edge can make us uncertain, can bring fears. Then we will feel bad in such a place. So, in my opinion, these intuitive kinds of Feng Shui are not bad or false Feng Shui. They still help much in design process. But I think that traditional Feng Shui, depending on directions and time, is the best because it is deeper understanding of ways how the energies work. Our surrounding impacts us no matter if we believe it or not. So the more we will obey space and time rules, the better will be our life. As I mentioned before, it is good to connect astrology to Feng Shui. Also, even Feng Shui alone can be quite efficient. In most cases it is so. However, sometimes we encounter cases when some person from a family has serious problems. Meanwhile, other members of the same family are happy and healthy, and their house has good Feng Shui. My experience tells me that usually when whole family is okay, or whole family has some bigger or smaller problems, the cause can be hidden in Feng Shui. But if there is happy and healthy family in a house with quite good Feng Shui, and only one person suffers serious problems, it can mean that the cause is not in Feng Shui. It can be some bomb in that person's astrology chart. What I do, I always check the astrology of occupants, no matter if they have problems or not. Sometimes the bomb may come with time in someone's life. For example, a family buys a beautiful house and they live there several years. And then, out of sudden, the father loses his money because of bad contract. Or the mother starts to be ill. Or there is a divorce. Sometimes people say then that Feng Shui sucks. They don't trust it anymore. But here is the thing. Feng Shui of that house can be perfect. It was the astrology chart of the person in action. Knowing astrology charts of the occupants, we can even warn them that there can be some troubles in future, be it in health or with money and so on. Adding astrology to the Feng Shui can also help us to advise people best colors in rooms. Colors are not that strong influence, but can also be helpful. But there also are other possibilities. For example, in somebody's astrology chart, we can see that the water element is the key to good life for that person. Then we can suggest buying a house near water or moving to milder and more humid climate. I have had clients whose health strongly improved after moving to Great Britain, for example. I have had also clients who spread their wings after moving to mountainous region. The earth element was the key for them. See, it can be fascinating research. So it is Feng Shui and astrology together, giving better picture of a situation. The third aspect of the Trinity is a man aspect. It is commonly known fact that our physical and psychological conditions depends on food intake. Yes, it is known that food impacts our behavior. Depends also on our conduct, our choices, exercise, self-reflection and meditation. If we eat properly and we are fit, it's more possible to reach our goals because our health will be stronger. We can also choose to act or not to act in some situations, or to act or not to act in some period of time. These are rules. Probably most of you know it, it's obvious, but there are more aspects and they can be even more interesting. Spirituality is one of these aspects. There are various approaches to using or connecting spirituality with Feng Shui. In more intuitive kinds of Feng Shui, it is quite common that people use affirmations or visualizations. Some people think that it is enough for attracting the change. Sometimes they put a figurine, a sculpture or special painting or mandala in some place and they think it is enough. We know that human mind is a powerful generator of chi energy and we can do much with it indeed. Okay, it can work in many situations. Also, it is closer to a magic rather than to Feng Shui. Yes, our mind can create miracles sometimes, but such miracles might be not lasting or not permanent. Sometimes we are full of energy, focused and full of faith, and our affirmations can materialize. So, for example, we will reach some goal, we will make some good decision. But next day or next month, we catch a cold or just fall into depression. Then we start hesitate or just stop our visualizations. It can happen that our goal will dissolve into thin air. We might have not enough strength to continue. On the other hand, if we use some Feng Shui solutions connected to right direction or activation of right place at home, it will still work for us, no matter what. I'm not at all against visualizations or affirmations or any kind of spiritual attitude. However, I'm aware of its limitations. Some of us can affirm or work with energies with ease, meanwhile others are not that good. So I would of course suggest using these types of work with energy, but in connection to more down-to-earth methods. It is like yin and yang. Then even if we will be in bad shape, something will still work for us or protect us. I know that there are also consultants who completely cut off spiritual side and focus only on the directions, compass and forms of terrain. In my opinion, it is throwing the baby out with the bathwater. If we connect these two ways of working with energy, we can create a wonderful machine working for us in a stronger way. Well, there is also another problem. I have been many times meeting clients who treat whole Feng Shui like magic. So they believe that if they will paint one wall red in one place and put a big plant in the other place, they will start to earn more money or will meet new sweet love. I always explain to clients how it works and what is Qi and what is Feng Shui about. But there are still such people who believe that Feng Shui will solve all their problems. And you know what? When I ask them, after some time how it goes. They say that unfortunately there is no new job and no new boyfriend or girlfriend. Then I ask what they did to make it happen. Did they create a new speedy and exciting website? Maybe they could show it to me. Maybe the website is not good enough. Or how many CV they sent? Or do they go to clubs or meetings to meet new people? They make trouble face and say no. They didn't do anything of these. See? They were believing that all things would just come to their house without even lifting a finger. So obviously they treat Feng Shui as magic. And we know that it is not like that. But sometimes these people are simply disappointed. Well, there is long and difficult way ahead of us consultants. We must explain to people that Feng Shui and other parts of Chinese metaphysics can support us strongly, but will not do anything instead of us. Sometimes Feng Shui also frightens people. Can you imagine that some people are afraid to put a glass of tea in some place? They don't want to aggravate famous star 5. Well, okay, back to our subject. I was talking about the connection between Feng Shui and spirituality. Using both at the same time can bring us better results. Next important subject, still a main part of the Trinity, are our decisions, acting or strategy, planning. This is a very important thing because if you act in right place, in right time and in right way, you will get better results. So we have various tools here, starting on choosing right date through planning and strategy up to divination. Choosing the right date can be very helpful, and it can be also connected to Feng Shui audit. For example, we can decide when to start renovation or when to put some remedies. We can also choose the best date to sell the house or move into the house. We use choosing the date also in many life situations like marriage, opening our business, signing a contract, or so on. There are many ways of counting a good date, and my favorite is Chinese astrology Bazi together with Xuankong Dagua and Chimendunjia. Chinese astrology gives us a good picture of energy in some moment of time, and we can check how that energy will impact our own chart or client's chart. So we can check which date will enhance money energy or power energy, or which date controls us too much and probably will limit our achievements. Then Xuankong Dagua, so method of hexagrams, helps us to connect space and time. So we have a house and we want to install a fountain in the garden. Hexagrams will tell us where to put the fountain and also when to activate it. So space and time factors together. Xuankong Dagua will also helps us to design the best house, the position of door and main gate, the best facing corresponding to the door, and much more details. Concerning water in a garden, simple Feng Shui will of course show us the best place for it, but Xuankong Dagua will show us exact degrees on a compass where this water should be placed. Then the best date, which will glue the energy of the place to energy of time. That's beautiful. Of course, there are also special water methods designed strictly to examine and planning real water and paths. That can be important if we want our water to act in a very strong way. It is good to know these methods because we have then wider knowledge about our water. In Feng Shui, we can place water in a good energy and it should bring good results. But special water methods will delve deeper into the situation and can tell us exactly how this water will act and what are possible side effects. It is a very wide subject, as you see. However, I don't want to confuse you or burden with too much information. What I want is to show that many various methods can give us a rich and exact picture of the situation. So a place, a house, can be exactly compatible to its occupants and surrounding energies. Yes, I was talking about choosing right date, planning and strategy, which are a main part of the Trinity. Sorry for adding too many threads there, so many methods, but you see it is all connected to each other. These methods interpenetrate one another. It is like a real life. So many various threads create the one canvas. Okay, we touched choosing right date subject. There are also methods helping us to look deeper into something and see what effects we will get from some action. So I use Wenwangwa, commonly known as I Ching, and Plum Blossom, other kind of I Ching. These methods help us to tell something more about the situation. We can check how the situation will evolve and what will be the possible effect. Sometimes I Ching can help to choose between two options, for example, when we have two possible facings in a house. Then we can compare subject line and object line, symbolizing two facings, and we get an answer. We can also examine a house in a remote way before we will visit it. So I Ching is also a beautiful addition to Feng Shui. Well, but my most favorite method is mentioned earlier, Chimendunjia. What is Chimendunjia? It is an ancient divination method that allows you to look behind the curtain of time and events to see what is below the surface, so to speak. It had been used by Chinese strategists and generals in ancient China to win wars. And nowadays, most people may think of it as a warfare. But after all, many life situations require us to choose some strategy of action, right? For example, in business, we sometimes need to evaluate a contractor before signing a contract. In such a situation, Chimendunjia can tell you what the person really thinks, what is his or her hidden agenda, and whether he or she has honest intentions. Okay, you could say that business is like a battlefield. After all, we see how some people openly attack others and some people build their brand on the criticism of the competition. Were you in this situation? I am, unfortunately, quite often. And then I look for advice in Chimendunjia and it tells me to ignore something because the attacker does it out of fear or jealousy and has to learn his or her lesson, and actually this person will not hurt me this time. On the contrary, that person will soon feel the edge of his words or action upon himself. Seeing such an answer, I needn't to worry about the situation and I can simply involve into my own work. Chimendunjia tells you when to act and when not to. It also tells how to act. However, professional life is not everything. Chimendunja will be a great help in your health diagnosis. Of course, it will never replace a doctor. However, it can help in 100 other ways. In Feng Shui, Chimendunja allows you to evaluate houses remotely and decide whether the purchase of a given property will be profitable. It can tell you where the missing item is and whether it will be found. There are many applications, and nowadays this wonderful method is most often used to support private decisions, investment, etc. At higher levels of initiation, Chimendunja covers the more spiritual realm and can lead us to the best path for personal development. It supports working on oneself and achieving goals. It helps to understand the karmic influences and to prepare personally selected remedies. So, as you see, this is a powerful machine which can tremendously help in audits or just daily life. Chimendunja can be used together with Feng Shui or Chinese astrology. I mentioned earlier that we can check investments or houses in a remote way, but not only. Sometimes you encounter a house and there is very difficult to decide where the facing is. For to prepare Feng Shui chart, you must know that, yes? Then Chimendunja can help. Or you need to find out what is the period of building. Here also Chimendunja is helpful. Actually, such questions can be also answered by I Ching, but I personally prefer Chimendunja because it gives more information. It happens that a client tells me that something is wrong in the house. Many things go in a bad way or something weird happens all the time. When I have not possibility to look at the Feng Shui chart, I can still make Chimendunja chart and then find out that something wrong is going on in such and such place. And it can be connected to big part of furniture or leaking water pipe. Chimendunja chart shows such things. It also helps to quick compare two palaces or two places for to invest or for to be used as our office. But this method has more dimensions. It shows not only present situation, it can also warn us that also investment is good now. We can lose much money in future. So better to resign or sell quickly. See? On the other hand, it can also tell us that there will be difficulties with documents in the beginning, but then it will be very good investment or a house. So it can be really helpful. Chimendunja can also help when you don't know the hour of birth. Then you just compare several Chimendunja charts for various hours and one of them will reveal you the truth. Yes, there are many methods, and the more methods you know, the more deep and clear answer you get. However, it is not wrong at all when some consultant starts using Feng Shui only or Chinese astrology only. There should be some start point, but I would strongly suggest learning some additional methods in a case if we encounter more complicated situation. Maybe the best set would be Feng Shui plus Chinese astrology and maybe plus Chimendunja. Then we can solve almost everything. Then we can add some other methods. But you see, here we have the famous Trinity as well. Feng Shui is the earth aspect, astrology is the heaven aspect, and Chimendunja is the man aspect. That is a beautiful fullness, isn't it? Now, if you are interested in examples, I have some. These cases taught me much. First case is a case of a millionaire man. This is an old case, but it was very moving for me. The man came to me in 2007 year after big financial catastrophe in his business. He signed a contract with a dishonest business partner and he lost almost everything. He had to sell his beautiful house on the lakeshore to have money for living. He invited me to this house just before selling it and asked me what happened. He was very sad. He didn't find me before. But anyway, he has read few books about Feng Shui and he wanted to know and understand what happened. It was also very sad for me when I examined the house. It turned out that the house was completely innocent. Feng Shui was quite good. Forms around were also good. Beautiful lake was enhancing money aspect, and maybe thanks to that this man could gather so much money. He started from nothing. But as I mentioned earlier, I always look at the astrology chart. And this made me really sad. What I saw there was that the time was very bad for money in that man's life. This is the astrology chart of that man. As you see, his day master, so it is the element representing him personally, is Gwei in water. Money in his chart are represented by fire element. He has only one weak fire element in his chart, in months, Ding in fire. And in December of 2006 year, he entered new 10 years luck pillar with very strong water element. So we can say he entered really minefield and he should be extremely careful with money. In the end of December 2006, he signed a very bad contract. December is the month of water element in its strongest phase. Also, the day was full of water element, so this big water took his money. Why it was so sad for me? The irony of the situation. If he would call me earlier, I would warn him for sure. As I said already, I always check people's astrology charts when examining Feng Shui. So maybe he could survive that bad time better. Well, then I helped him to gather what he only could and start again, also in quite bad time and circumstances. He survived and has his small business, but he never returned to his best results. And frankly speaking, it will not be easy in his life now. The time is against him. But if he would invest the money still in good time, maybe a year before, and the investment would be wise, then he would still have quite nice sum for living. But he lost everything. You see, examining that case only by Feng Shui chart gives not full truth. In this case, the problem was hidden in the astrology chart, so haven't decided. However, it doesn't mean that a person must be poor. Knowing the chart earlier, there is a possibility to make good investment, change the place of living. If water element is so dangerous for someone, one can move to a warmer country or even some hot mountainous place, then the fire element and earth element would protect the person, right? There is always a way. On the other hand, I have heard the story that certain Chinese sage astrologer knowing that 20 years of strong fire element will come to his life soon, moved to a little island where he thrived surrounded by water, and after the time he could return to his village. There is always a way. Now a few words about my favorite method, Chimendunjia connected with the astrology. I mentioned earlier that I use Chimendunjia together with an astrology chart. It gives much more information. I check the hour of birth of every client in that way. Sometimes somebody knows wrong hour or just does not know the hour at all. There are many ways Chimendunjia can be used. It happens that client asks about one thing, but then in the chart we find something else. Some time ago I got a phone call from a woman and she wanted to know how will be the next few months for her and how to prepare. She told me that she has to make some important decision and it would be good to know if time is right. It was in October 2020. This is her birth chart and it is with no hour as she didn't know her hour of birth. But for quick analysis it is okay. Her die master is Earth. It is obvious that 2020 year brings her many changes and challenges as the Z, rat, is in clash with her year and day in the chart. It will be doubled in December, as December is also the rat month. So I told her to be very careful with her health and she should be also prepared for some problems with money. Water is money element in her chart. Probably she will be forced to resign from something to achieve something else. Because her reserves element is involved, fire generates earth and that fire is clashed by water, it can be connected to her home or any other support. Also, there is a possibility to have some disturbances in personal life. Well, she was in shock how I could know such things. She admitted that she is already in financial troubles and she plans to sell a part of her real estate in December. See? She also has many personal issues with co-parents and people around. Then I decided to make a Chimendunjia chart. I asked her about more details and it turned out that she is a film director. She plans to invest into some production and she hesitates whom to invite to cooperate in that matter. I got dates of birth of several possible people. It is the Chimendunjia chart made for the exact time when she called me. My client is represented by being stem here. In Chimendunjia we take the year stem as a person's representation. And all should end well and she should be successful. Also there will be some turbulences. The place describing her person has one of the best settings, so it is actually a good prognosis. But interesting thing is with her closest cooperative, the other woman symbolized by Gwei, water yin. I told my client that she should be careful because that other woman can betray her in some way. In Chimendunjia we can compare persons and situations by simply comparing the so-called palaces. These palaces have elements assigned in the same way as in Luoshu. So my client is in Gen Palace, Earth, and that other woman is in Shun Palace. Wood. Wood conquers earth, right? Additionally, there are lots of other information, like for example the lacking document. They didn't sign any serious contract. They just made a verbal contract. In the chart, it is symbolized by view in Shun Palace. View can symbolize documents. Shun Palace was in so-called void in the chart, so it can mean lacking of something or some kind of disappointment. The chart also warns against some accident during travel and losing money. We see that in Gen Palace. Well, I will not delve too deep into this case. I give here only the most interesting and most obvious findings. My client was in shock again, as many things and tendencies she was seeing already. Then in a few days her car broke, but fortunately it was very close to her home and she was driving slowly. If it would happen in full speed, she might be seriously injured. Anyway, she had to spend much money to repair the car. You see, she is depicted in Chimendunja chart together with very good energy settings, so I think it saved her. You can imagine that she was in shock again, but there was one thing she was absolutely sure that it wouldn't happen. She was sure that her co-parent, the second woman, being her longtime friend, would never betray her. Okay, we will see, I said in my mind. Some years ago I was always surprised when things were happening in the exact way predicted by a chart. Now I'm not surprised anymore. I just got used to it. And you know what? This client called to me again in December and said that I was right. The close friend betrayed her and left her high and dry, so to speak. So as you see, some signs we can find in 4 pillars chart. We can see that something is coming. But it is Chimendunja chart which shows us what can it be, and how strong will be the impact. There are also tons of additional information, additional levels. Then there is also a suggestion of the best strategy in some situation. So Chimendunja shows us not only what can happen, but also how to react in some situation, for to go out with best assets in hand. I have also cases when clients ask about health matters. Then in 4 pillars chart we can find some signs, but in Chimendunja we can find out much more. We can see what was the cause and where to look for help. For example, Chimendunja chart can suggest the best way of treatment, herbs or operation or other methods. Also can suggest where to find a good doctor. I am still studying Chimendunja, but I'm in love with this method already. Chimendunja can be very helpful during investment. I mentioned it already. Sometimes a client wants to buy a house or an apartment and Feng Shui audit looks good, nice surroundings, good chart and so on. Then it happened to me many times that only Chimendunja chart showed problems. Some time ago, a client asked me for an assessment of the beautiful apartment in a very exclusive place. She wanted to buy it. Price was okay, all looked well, but Chimendunja warned us that something was wrong and the seller could be a fraud. So she asked a notary for checking the case. It turned out that the seller was one of the 3 owners of that place, and he was not allowed to sell without other owners' agreement. There was even more drama. The seller was a fraud, and he deceived already one person before. He took the advance payment, and now he planned to do the same with my client, and then probably he would flee with money. Can you imagine that? I have quite many similar cases. Of course, not with such criminal background. This one was only one. But many times it was a problem with some lacking documents, hidden defects, and so on. So, before client buys a house or apartment, I always check not only Feng Shui chart, but also Chimendungja chart. I think it is much more safe way. Of course, there is more methods and ways of dealing with Feng Shui audits. I describe only these which I know and use. But as you see, if we add and mix methods, we can get better results and help the client in much deeper and fuller way. I hope that these thoughts, which I just shared with you, will be helpful in your audits or planning of further learning process. Well, it is said that the more you get into something, the more complicated it becomes. It can sometimes look like that, I agree. But also, it can be fascinating and exciting. You can see people's secrets. You can see additional taste of the situation. Well, so finishing this sharing, thank you very much for listening.